what is the reality on the ground for school leaders at the moment?
I think the ones that I'm working with haven't stopped since March, so they're exhausted. Their personal reserves are quite low. I think that they have been caught, again, the ones I've been working with have been caught between wanting to do the right thing and wanting to be clear and to be the face of a school that is really articulating and modeling government guidance, doing all the right things, and then feeling incredibly let down that things haven't worked out, and they have been. That's happened over successive times, so it's kind of, I'm going to try again, and then they're getting let down. I'm going to try again, and so that really pulls on the resilience, I think. I think for many of them there is a deep sense of responsibility for other people's safety and health, and the realization that you as a school leader have potentially the lives of other people in your hands in ways that are not made so real and so tangible, even though that's always our job. That's never been so tangible. I'm working with school leaders who have experienced that double whammy of, in the wake of George Floyd's murder, realizing that they were also responsible for schools that may have huge blind spots, and the way that coincided with then thinking, I don't know if I know how my BAME staff are going to cope, given that they are but more at risk than the rest of my staff. Those are questions that I wasn't aware that I was meant to have in my head. So people who have been hit by this kind of twin imperative to act in ways that are really, really morally aligned. And I think that's exhausting work. And normally we have a whole career to do that. And people are finding that that's been condensed into a few short months. So they're tired, the people I'm talking to, they're tired, and they're doing really well, but they're tired.
And alongside that daily hypervigilance, firefighting, there is, as you've said, what this pandemic did was it exposed the crevasse of inequalities and injustices in our society, which some of us were very aware of, others weren't, and it's just brought it all to the surface, hasn't it? So there is, if we link to purpose and we also link to that desire to be seen to be doing things, school leaders are now carrying the weight of also saying, addressing these huge issues. So with the best will in the world, you can't invite somebody to talk about BAME issues in for a day in September and then say we've done that. It's a big job on its own without a global pandemic, because actually the reality is, as Alison Creel, who's been working with us, talks about, is that actually every school has issues, and if you say you don't, then actually you probably a step behind. So there's taking on all of that as well as sustaining themselves, and all of it is still all of it's urgent, and especially that moral imperative. Adrian, leadership in a time of crisis.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the thing that comes to mind is, and maybe it's a fault with the system or the way many schools are set up, is I think there is too much responsibility that lands on the shoulders of head teachers. And it should, when I was on the senior leadership team, it should be a team effort, tackling this situation and leading a school through challenging times like we're in now. And that senior leadership team includes your board of governors as well, who should be supporting head teachers, and maybe kind of getting involved more than they previously do. I'm a governor at my school, and we've had more meetings over summer, in preparation for kind of the return to school in September. So yeah, I think when I think about the things that really matter for well-being, whether you're in a global pandemic or not, the number one thing that ultimately contributes to mental health and well-being is strong personal relationships. And I think head teachers, school leaders need to feel like they are part of a team and part of a community. And so whether it is, the senior leadership team rallying around the head and saying, look, we're all in this together, we will help you through, but it shouldn't be we help you, it's like we are the senior leadership team. It's also about head teachers and leaders reaching out to external people, organizations. So whether it's, signing up to supervision, whether it's finding a coach, whether it's joining organizations like, is it Heads Together or that James Pope?
Heads Up.
Heads Up. But joining those communities where I know that there were kind of grassroots kind of leadership movements that set up, probably like WhatsApp groups and Zoom groups that head teachers just set up by themselves during the summer holidays or during lockdown to just help each other through, because they were all pretty much leading in the dark without the guidance they needed from the DFE, etc. So I guess that's what I would say, to help you through. If you feel alone, like, you need to reach out. You can't do this by yourself. It's impossible. So you need to feel like you're part of the team. You need to feel like people have your back. And so, look internally, look externally. And also, I would say, I know someone, won't mention any names, a school leader that I'm part of a kind of group on Twitter, and they've said to me that they've handed in a notice they'll be leaving at Christmas. They're just a few years off retirement. And it's kind of like, if this situation, if leading a school right now is being significantly detrimental to your physical and mental health, it's not worth it. Like, it's not about, I think too often we feel like, I have to do this, I'll be letting the kids down and their families. But ultimately, if you are, you probably have responsibilities to your own family as well. If you're a parent, it really isn't worth it. Nothing is more important than your physical and mental health. And if your job is making you ill, then you have to do something else.
There is something there which makes me rant and rail at the system, actually, and that is the total gaping hole where any kind of supervision for school leaders, there is a gaping hole, and it's not right. And if you speak to anyone in the NHS, anyone in psychology, anyone in coaching, that hole, and there's a part of me that says, why should they go out and find it? It should be part of our system anyway. That deeply hierarchical nature of our education system means that it is so lonely out there, up there at the top. And that idea of, if there's practical things to do, it's about supporting in every direction. Just check in on your boss. Just check in on your line manager, check in on your head teacher. They might not be the hugging type, they might not be the chocolate type, but just say thank you or ask them how they are, and it'll make all the difference. It's those small things that we talk about a lot in the book.
And I want to say to head teachers, or to leaders really, who are really going through it at the moment, that one of the things I constantly tell my coachees is that because they were born, it means that they're worthy regardless. And we have such a deficit around leadership, what leadership means. Our whole outlook is that there's something more you could be doing, as opposed to the fact that you were born, you are therefore worthy, you put your hand up to lead, and thank you so much for doing that. Yes. You're lighting the way. That's the title of my book is about, you're saying, I think we can go in that direction. Do you want to come with me? That's all. That's what you're saying. You're not saying I have the answers. You're not saying I will definitely get there. You're not saying I know that this is the exact right route. You're saying I've got a torch. I think it's in that way. Do you want to come with me? And thank you for doing that. Thank you for doing that. The kind of the other side of this is that the kind of what's the opposite of deficit? The abundant model.
Yeah.
That people are doing a brilliant job in really difficult times. Everything that they're doing is adding to something. It's not taking anything away, and they're not doing enough because it's not possible.
Yes.
Just to kind of flip that a bit for leaders, to remember that it's all abundant. It is all more than is expected in these really difficult times. Is sometimes I'm noticing that is moving people to tears, because sometimes we forget that's thank you for putting your hand up. Thank you for agreeing to lead us.